Good afternoon, everyone. We saw the pale horse, the white horse galloping on the river Fam, and suddenly a 90-year operational co-op closes. British Columbia fruit industry devastated. We see insects, landslides, the crust of our earth. Is this all planned to coincide with the onsetting cycle? And if you didn't know, Sopi is the corporate arm that funded this white horse. Here it is in production as they were taking it from the lab out into the river. The message was very clear. Difficulties with food are going to start to manifest routinely. Get ready for that. Anyway, I want to bring you up here, British Columbia, up into you consider like the northern Washington apple growing areas, across the border there into Canada, and we have this massive fruit industry. Now look how beautiful that is. Tailored it is. Those trees aren't very large, but just pure fruit production. Now just as an off thought here, I'm wondering what electroculture might be able to do with that same lines of fruit where you could put copper wiring around it to harvest that millivolt charge from our atmosphere. Sending down a rabbit hole on that one. Now the BC farmers forced to make desperate deals as fruit co-op suddenly shutters operations. Vancouver Sun putting this one out. This is BC Tree Fruits, and they're also aligned with Grower Supplies, so they're a one-stop shop for all the fruit orchards. Been in business since 1936. Negotiates with buyers from around the world to have this massive amount of fruit then shipped off, and orchard growers would get a higher price, obviously. Instead of individually bargaining, they use the co-op. Now here's the interesting thing. They closed right now with the apple harvest just beginning or in another couple of weeks from now. The timing on it is, in my opinion, just my opinion, to do the most damage. But look at the price of these cherries. Small for $6. That's insane. Ambrosia apples, I mean, that little tiny basket there for $6 or $10, that's also, borderline insane on the prices for apples. They should be 25 cents each. Or you could grow your own fruit in your own yard by putting out a few fruit trees. And then you're going from your yard to your table. And echoing on my opinion of the most devastation done to shutter at this time, the whole entire industry will destabilize. Quote. Now see, the thing is, other co-ops that might take or fruit packing facilities that have free space, there's none left. So whoever is involved in this co-op is pretty much going to lose everything, because it's very difficult to take, one example, 9,000 kilograms of apples and then move them to a single buyer by yourself on the back of a truck. They don't even have cold storage because the co-op's closed. So Thursday, everything's fine, and then Friday morning, co-op writes a letter to all of their members, hundreds and hundreds of families, multi-generational families involved with the orchard business, to immediately search for another alternative for your market in this year's fruit. Oh wait, you mean the harvest is starting now or a couple weeks, or it might be, slightly harvesting now and we need to go find it? Well, what? President Trump warned the U.S. dollar is crashing and will no longer be the world standard. BRICS, attracting more and more countries and moving away from the U.S. dollar. A global de-dollarization trend accelerates. Gold is security in times of uncertainty. Call the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. And Patriot Gold Group has an OP for Life IRA, where your IRA or 401k could be in physical gold or silver. No fee for Life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Give them a call, 888-546-7020. And now on with the video. This is just heinous. The way that it was announced and nobody saw this coming, to try to warn those producing our food that, hey, you might have a problem. And here's another thing. Not only is BC Tree Fruit closing, but then Their arm that supplied fertilizers, farm inputs, cultivars, etc., the grower supply company that had that branch to allow farmers to facilitate and get all the inputs that they need to continue production is also shut. So imagine you lost your supply, you lost your availability to even procure anything to continue into next year, and you lost your whole harvest. And then to add insult on top of that, what's not widely reported about, remember last year we had that record cold that just smashed through the United States during the winter time. I mean, absolutely crushed the U.S. Well, what do you think it was like in Canada further north from us? Winter weather wiped out almost all of BC's peaches, apricots, nectarines, and damaged cherry orchards. I read further into it. I linked all these articles below so you can do your own reading and research on it. And there really needs to be an investigation for this, because you're telling me that the co-op had given 15 ways from Sunday why they can't operate any longer, including lower fruit prices. And I just shake my head and say, what? That's impossible if they're citing lower produce prices for some of their operational deficiencies or deficits because they can't make margins. You know, there were so many things wrong with this. They knew months ago that they were going to close. And to bring it up to just literally a week or so until the harvest begins. This was done on purpose. Again, it's my personal opinion. I cannot believe that they would do that to people. Hundreds of families that have been with them for decades, multi-generations, and they rug pulled the entire industry like that. Something has gone very wrong here, and the indication of the pale horse of more of these types of problems, yeah, it's laying the foundation. You might want to get a little more ready growing your own food just because of this incident. And then here we go. Boar's Head, very popular. Recalls 7 million pounds of meat. Listeria. Take a look in your area to see where the recalls were. The states are listed in red here. So if you're in one of these states and you have one of these Boar's Head product, do yourself a favor and heed the warning of the recall, which marches lockstep into Wake Up America. Your food's banned in 30 countries. A lot of things that we have in our supermarkets are not available for sale in European supermarkets due to the ingredients. Not allowed in many other places. Insects are, though, and let's take a look at this dragonfly fest invading the beach, driving people running and screaming straight out of a horror movie. Now, what would make this many insects move at one time? Volcanism or earthquakes that they can sense the magnetic field shift. And if that's not enough, why don't we go over to Latvia and take a look at the moth concentrations. Now, again, this is something to behold. I've seen a lot of moths, seen a lot around, you know, because we got a dark place and we have an enormous amount of lights around our house at night. I mean, comparatively for the countryside, and how many insects come around ours. I've never seen anything like this. This is so far off the Richter. Like, how many of moths can come in at one time, even during the peak of the season? Something strange again. And speaking of anomalies, Chilcotin River landslide. Closes off the river. You can see where the dam is forming upstream to the west or to the left. That's getting bigger, bigger, bigger. And they anticipated for it to break through and have this massive wall of water rolling down the river into the Fraser River. Be careful if you're around this one. That's a no-joke thing. When this breaks, when the levee breaks, as Zeppelin says, you're going to have a massive flood. And also, I'd mentioned this and talked about it as we come into this magnetic anomaly in October of 2024, that the Earth was going to behave strangely in the top 2 miles of the crust, which would include a lot of landslides, landslips, earth cracks, and bridges breaking away from their banks. Check that one off here. This is a biggie. Some more aerial shots for you. This will be getting a lot more news and traction here shortly as the dam gets even larger behind that. We also have, you know, more railway disruptions here. This was farm-bound goods. Again, things that are involved in farming inputs. I think there were some fertilizers and other types of things, and they were looking to see what the hazardous class materials were for that. So we get a couple of choices moving forward here. You, me, anybody, you have the choice to continue to live in the city. Or we can choose to try to move out into the rural areas to grow our own food, get more self-autonomous. And I'm on the fence about how nefarious another set of humans on this planet can be. And if it is, then it would be an invasive hominid species, because if there's no empathy for billions of people with no food, then that brings it into its own different species, because that is not aligned with anything human. We're kind of on our own here moving forward, if you haven't seen that whole, message to self or big billboard as you're driving somewhere. I do wish you the best in your preparations, and check out Prepper All Naturals freeze-dried beef, adapt2030beef.com. That link's in the description box below. Use the promo code CLEANCOWS. You can take 15% off at your order. I do appreciate you watching. I hope you got something out of the video. See you next time. Bye for now.